Welcome back to Off the Docks. Cameron, what are we talking
Yeah.
about?
All right. So today we got a full list of topics today. It's not just one like usual. So today we're talking about the WGA strike. We're talking about Saw X, and we're talking about Halloween potentially being shopped around. We'll get into that later. But yeah, those are our main topics today. I'm excited.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. I did want to mention first, though, as a little bit of a not really main topic, but just off the top kind of. So, this weekend, they are re releasing the original Exorcist movie. And I'm planning on going to see that Sunday. And I'm real excited for that because I have never seen that movie in theaters. I've only seen the movie about maybe once or, I don't know, two times, maybe, not that many times. So, it's going to be really cool to be able to watch this iconic horror movie in theaters. How many times have you? I don't know how many times you've seen that movie because your dad is notoriously afraid of this movie.
Terrified? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've seen it maybe twice in my whole life, and the
Okay.
last time I watched it was probably like eighth or ninth grade.
It's been a while.
It's been a long, long
It's
time.
been a while. Okay. Uh, I kind of figured you don't really talk about watching that movie, and me too. I've only seen it like once or twice, and it's been a long time since I've seen the full movie. Um, I wish I would have totally invited you, but it's on a day that you work, so we couldn't have done that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Fortunately, I can't do YouTube full time yet,
Yeah, right.
so I have to go to work
Oh
like a
man,
boring person.
doesn't that just fucking suck?
Doesn't that just fuck?
Doesn't that just fuck? Well, yes, it
It
does,
fucks
Jerry.
my plans up. That's what it does.
Well, sometimes yes, it does. All right. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because I thought that was really cool. I didn't realize they were re-releasing the movie. But I mean, it makes sense. We got Exorcist Believer coming out next month in a couple of weeks here, actually. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna go check that movie out. Maybe I'll do my own review and just video about talking about the experience. It's not too often we get to go see re-releases of movies. We both saw a double feature a couple of years ago, which was Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street. That was fucking awesome.
That is true. That was incredible.
Yeah, I'm so glad we got to do that. And I think both of us separately have seen Jaws in the theater too.
Yes. Yes. I have seen Jaws twice. Um, Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream once.
Okay.
And think I think that's it in terms of like horror movies. I think that's all.
Yeah, in terms of horror movies, I haven't seen many re-releases. Like I've always missed out when they re-release Halloween. If they do that again this year, I'm gonna have to try to catch that. But who knows? Usually I never get to, but maybe this year there's a chance. That's definitely one that I want to see. I'm so glad I got to see Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street. That was awesome. So, yeah, just wanted to bring that up as a quick off the top because I thought that was pretty cool. So, I think first off, we should talk about like probably the biggest news out of this week, which is the WGA strike is now officially over.
Yes. Yes, it
And
is.
that is super exciting news. It was what like 140 something days
It was a
apparently.
long ass time, is
Yeah,
what it was.
it took it's way too long, but we're finally there. Uh, and that's really exciting because now that the WGA has finally made a deal with the studios, that means that we can start rolling into SAG, maybe getting some deals. I think they're meeting Friday, I think is what I remember reading. That SAG is meeting with the studios on Friday.
I think I know they have a date set already. I don't remember when it is though.
Yeah, I think it's sometime soon. But yeah, it's really exciting news, man. Like,
Well,
it's been too
don't
long.
get your hopes up right away because I don't know if you heard, but they have already given approval. It hasn't started yet, but they have given approval for a secondary SAG strike for the video game industry. So even though the movies may continue, they may immediately turn around and strike against video games, which means that a lot of video games will be delayed.
That's
And
true.
then we'll be in the same situation with video games, which is awful because there's so many video games that we've been waiting forever for.
That is true. None that
like
come
like
to
GTA
immediate.
6.
I mean, yeah. I
GTA 6 always has like actual actors doing the characters
Sure.
or
GTA
GTA in
6 isn't
general.
a big one for me just because like yes, I love GTA 5 and obviously we've all been waiting for GTA 6, but like I don't think any of the immediate games I'm excited for will be delayed. Like I don't think Spider-Man 2 is in jeopardy. I think that one's pretty set on coming out.
Oh yeah, no, that one is pretty much done already, so that's fine. But
Yeah,
I'm saying like other games that aren't done with development yet will be pushed back if the actors can't work on it,
for
which means
sure.
stuff like Insomniac's Wolverine game
That's
and things
true.
like that
That would
could
suck.
possibly be put in jeopardy depending on the actors that they're using.
Yeah. We'll have to
And
see,
I mean,
man.
I'm all
It's
for, if they need to negotiate to get better prices for voice actors, because I know they
for
do
sure. Yeah.
a ton of work and there's a lot of motion capture stuff with video games a lot of times, and they get paid far less than what they deserve, especially for some of these games. Like Grand Theft
Yeah.
Auto 5 is like the third best selling video game of all time.
Yeah, right. It's
And I
yeah.
I'm pretty sure those guys aren't getting handed millions of dollars for the sales of that game,
Oh
you know?
no, no. They
So
probably don't get any like residuals or anything like that for voice acting. Yeah, it would suck, but I'm hoping that maybe because of the WGA stuff that maybe that'll start to trickle down and maybe they can start talking to studios for the video game side before we have to strike. And like just because it's approved doesn't mean it's going to happen, but yeah, it is in dangerous territory right now for the video games. But anyways, yeah, the WGA strike being over is still exciting news because hopefully that means we can get SAG-AFTRA into this and make a deal with the studios so we can start getting movies made again. Um, there was a lot of exciting projects that I was bummed out being like delayed. I'm pretty sure the Batman 2 was supposed to start filming this month before the
yeah.
strike.
The
Uh,
biggest one for me was Marvel Studios Fantastic Four
oh, really?
got pushed back. That's one of my most anticipated films because I have been like basically just desperately waiting for most of my life for a decent
Yeah,
Fantastic Four film,
that's
and
fair.
like the very first one is okay, but
Yeah,
it's not
it's
great.
not
And
amazing.
every other movie they've done after that is like okay to terrible. Like
Yeah, yeah.
there's like maybe two or three good scenes in each one, and then
Yeah, I'm on that boat with you, but I wouldn't say Fantastic Four is one of my most anticipated only because we don't know anything that's happening with that movie. Like we don't have a cast, we don't have a set director yet. Like we don't really know much about
that's
that
fair.
movie. For me, it was Batman 2 just because I love the first one and we know a little more about what to expect with the second one. And the fact that they were supposed to start filming already by this month, it's like just is sad to me because I'm assuming they finished writing the script or were close to finish writing. So hopefully Matt Reeves and his team get that finished up and maybe we'll start to hear some casting news right after the SAG after strike comes to an end, which hopefully is sooner rather than later.
Yeah, another big one for me that got pushed back was Daredevil.
Yeah, I did. I
Daredevil Born
forgot about
Again.
Daredevil.
I I think Daredevil is the single greatest superhero show of all time.
In terms of
Um,
shows, yeah, you might. Yeah,
which I know
might be
that's probably a
right.
hot take because Batman the Animated Series exists, and
Yeah,
there's
if you're
there's a
gonna
lot of great
include
TV
that,
shows.
maybe like that's
Superman the Animated Series,
true.
Justice League Unlimited, Young
Yeah,
Justice, the original Teen Titans.
yeah.
There's
OGT
a lot
Titans.
of really good superhero shows, but
You're not
um,
wrong.
I think Daredevil to me, front to back, was like the perfect adaptation of Daredevil to live action.
Yeah,
And I even like for me, a lot of people were very mixed on season two. I thought season two was great. I had very little complaints about season two.
really. I felt like a
And
lot of people liked season two, and then season three was where people got the mixed reviews. But I could be wrong. I don't remember.
yeah, season two got a lot of mixed reviews because they had too many storylines going on. Like it was
Yeah,
jumping back and forth between the Punisher and the Hand.
that's true.
And it was just kind of the Hand stuff kind of feels like it's just there to set up the defenders.
The hand
Um,
stuff.
but yeah, so
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, so having Charlie Cox return as Daredevil in Spider-Man No Way Home was like a huge fucking deal for me.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
knowing that they were going to bring him back for the longest Disney Plus show they've done so far was super exciting.
Yeah.
And now we have no idea when it's going to come out because they were filming, but because of the writers and actors strikes, they shut down production because they were protesting in the area that they were filming in. So it
Yeah.
was impossible for them to film because there was too much noise. There was people walking in and out of the set protesting, and
Well,
it
that
was
show
just
got delayed
not
like two or
doable.
three times before they shut down.
Yeah,
It had been delayed a
they
lot.
they were trying really hard to just move it
Yeah.
after, like right after the strike. They were like, "Don't worry, guys, couple more weeks."
Yeah.
But it just now it's gonna be like a whole year later because they have to completely finish filming
Right.
the whole show now, and the actor strike isn't even over yet, so it could be
That's
another month
true.
or two before
Another,
they're even able to get back on set.
yeah, another big one for me. I know not for you because you never saw the first Dune, but Dune 2 being delayed really sucked for me because I was real hyped to see that movie. What, next, no, not next month, but in November, I think. But now it's delayed till like early next year, which I mean, it's only a couple of months and it wasn't that big of a push, but I don't know. It was just disappointing. I'm really hyped for Dune 2.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, seeing the Dune 2 trailer like 80,000 times in the last couple months because we've gone to the
Yes, yeah,
theater
yeah.
so many times, it's honestly making me wanna go back and watch the first one
I'm
because
good
the
because
new
I've
movie
been
looks
trying to tell
incredible,
you. Yeah.
and I heard nothing but good things about the first one, so I really do need to go back and watch that
Yeah,
because
I've been trying to, because I'm hoping you do that before the new one comes out, because I'm seeing that bitch in IMAX. Dune,
oh,
the
yeah,
first Dune was my very first movie experience in IMAX. I've never seen an IMAX movie before that.
that's
And it
fire.
was a sick movie to see for the first time in IMAX. It's so worth it. But yeah,
Yeah, it just
hopefully,
seems like one of those really just top-notch fantasy films that's just, like, really
yes.
high quality, and
Yeah. It's
I'm
like,
really into a lot of fantasy sci-fi stuff, so
yeah,
I
I
really
think it'd
should
be
give
right up your
that first
alley.
movie a watch.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we can sit down and watch it together, like we were just talking about, maybe doing some watch parties or something. So maybe that could be one of the movies we do when we have time off.
I'm down.
Hell yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, the strike, uh well, this strike in particular is over.
Yeah, this
Um,
one.
Now we're waiting for the actor strike to end, and hopefully another one doesn't begin. I hope that they can come to terms with the video games before that one happens. But
Yeah, we'll see.
um, yeah, overall, I'm just happy to see that there's progress being made and that some people are going to be able to go back to work and
When we
writers
found
have to
out,
write projects before the actors can be in them. So
well, yeah, exactly.
hopefully there will be a lot of movies ready to go by the time the actors are cleared.
I'm hoping. When we found out that they only really sat in a room for like 9 days, and it went on
Yeah,
for like 140 days, it is kind of like, really, guys, you couldn't have just
you couldn't
done
have done
this
that in the
at
first two
first.
weeks.
Yeah,
Like, come on.
but you know that's how strikes fucking work. Is
Yeah,
a
I
dick
think
measuring
the
contest, really. And then,
exactly, absolutely. I think the biggest problem was they waited this long because the studios refused to budge.
oh yeah, exactly, and
And,
vice
they
versa.
had those reports coming out of like high executives talking about, oh, well, we could just let the writers starve and then they'll accept whatever terms we want. And
Yeah,
it's just not, they were going to wait until people were losing their homes
yeah,
to close the
exactly.
deal and in
So
order to force them to make shittier deals. And
yeah,
I'm
the
glad that that
outcome.
didn't happen.
Yeah, it's better that it turned out this way than that having to happen. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's some great fucking news for this week. I'm glad that that finally went through and we can look to the future, hopefully.
You know what else is great news?
What is great news?
A new Saw movie came out today.
Wow,
And
perfect
you know what?
segue.
It
Yeah,
didn't fucking suck.
it didn't suck,
I
which
was
is
astonished.
incredible. It's a Saw
I
movie that didn't suck, and it's been a while since that happened. A long while.
I haven't seen Jigsaw in a while. I watched it a couple times when it first came out, and I liked it a lot more than most people did. I definitely
Hmm.
don't think it's a perfect movie. Um, but I thought it was spiritually a return to form, not necessarily in cinematography and stuff, but I thought that they pulled it back a lot from the last couple Saw movies, and it was definitely better than the last couple Saw movies.
In
Um,
we were just talking about this last night because I literally just rewatched Jigsaw, and yeah, I'm kind of the opposite of that because yes, when I first watched it, I did like it, but after rewatching the movie, I don't know, I grew to dislike it a lot just because I understand what you mean that it was a return to form, but honestly, I do disagree that it was because so much of this movie doesn't make sense, and it was a weird modernization and like shit that one man or two men could not build by themselves. There's a lot of problems that I had with that movie, and but this isn't a review for Jigsaw. But yeah, the fact that
yeah, I can very happily say that this new Saw movie, Saw X,
Saw X,
which is
yeah.
ridiculous. This is like Saw 1.5. It's
I
not
mean,
Saw 10. I don't
well,
know.
yes and no.
Calling it Saw 10 is like it's so confusing.
Yes, but like in a way, because like if you are new to the franchise and you watch this before Saw 2, it does ruin things in Saw 2.
That is true. That is true. Um, but it is very much a filler movie.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah,
it
for
was it
sure.
was a good filler movie,
Yeah,
but it's very much a filler movie, and it in some ways because of that feels a little unnecessary.
sure.
Like,
It's
but I'm
definitely
glad that they were able to bring it back to a way that Tobin Bell could give such a great performance in this movie.
he this
That was
might
the standout
be
for me was his performance.
yeah, his performance was absolutely the standout. And yeah, like watching this movie, there are some times where I did feel like, okay, well, we just made this movie because no one liked the spin-off idea, so we're just finding new ways to bring back Tobin Bell. But as long as the movies are this well made, I'm fine with it because this really is maybe the best Saw movie since the second one. I've never loved any of the Saws after number two, and this one I think is up there. It's not as good as Saw one or two, but it is higher quality than a lot of the other Saws.
Indeed.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think
That is my biggest problem with the franchise is that after the second one, it's like the third one is like okay,
yeah, it's like
and
eh.
then they just went really off the rails, like immediately.
Yeah, my thing is that I'm kind of the opposite of what you said with Jigsaw, where I think this movie, that's the thing that I really love about this movie is that it really did bring it back to classic Saw formula where the traps were really fucked up but simple. There's no over the top, like, there's no way an old man could build this type of shit. Like, it's really
Yeah,
rudimentary, thrown together type of traps, which I love because I'll just say in Jigsaw, there's specifically one trap where I'm just like, how the fuck is this supposed to be his first trap, which is the spiral blender trap? Supposedly, in the
yeah,
canonicity of the movie, that's supposed to be John's like first trap or one of the first traps he ever built. And I'm just like, no. There's no fucking way. But
yeah. I do agree with that. I think that the traps in Jigsaw are absolutely ridiculous. Like some of them are very simple, like
some
the
of them are
chains
cool.
pulling them towards the saw,
Yeah,
or
that one's
like the
fine.
guy getting his leg stuck in the wire through the floor
Right.
and stuff like that. But yeah, that the blender and the laser trap are by far some of the most
The most like
ridiculous
over
saw
the
traps
top.
of all time.
Yeah. It really. But yeah, that's what I love about this new one is that it brings it back to basics and they're very simplistic but messed up traps.
Yeah. Yeah, especially the one that's on the poster.
Oh yeah, it's such a good one.
Um, Such a great scene, and the way it's utilized was shocking,
Yeah,
and it was, very interesting the way that they used that. I'm not gonna go
the
into any spoilers, but it
yeah,
definitely
what
will catch
happens
a
with
lot of
that?
people off guard.
It caught me off guard. I was not expecting the way that scene ended, but I was into it. I thought it was kind of a fun way to. I mean, it's pretty much the. I don't know. I don't want to say that either. But yeah, it was a fun way to do a saw trap, and I really liked that. Um, man, some of these new saw traps in this movie are fucking gnarly. They're not as bad as I was expecting, but I'm fine with that because that's kind of what I love about the first movie is that there's not a whole lot of gore. There's more gore in this than in Saw 1, but it's not
Yeah,
over
way
the
more.
top. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not over the top at all.
I agree with that, actually. I think that the biggest weak point of the franchise after Saw 2 is that it begins to focus more on how disgusting it can be
Exactly.
rather than how tense it can be.
Right.
And the tension of the will they, won't they with the traps is what makes it so interesting.
Right.
And the simple traps make it like so much worse because it feels like something that's real.
Yeah,
So when you're watching somebody like in the first movie saw their leg off with an old rusty saw,
exactly.
it's like you feel like that could actually happen.
Right,
And it's
because
so that makes it worse in your head because you're like, "Oh my god, like this is so crazy."
yeah, that's what makes the like just the tension in the movie, like you said, and the suspense so real is because it's just two guys chained to a bathroom and one guy has to cut his leg off. And it's so simple. And I feel like Saw lost the plot after a while. And that's what made the original so damn good.
Yeah, the thing that makes Saw great is the suspense of wondering what's gonna happen, and then the twist taking you in the complete opposite direction of where you thought it was going.
Exactly.
And after a while, it felt like they were just like, how gross can this movie be? And then what's the most ridiculous twist we can think of?
Right.
And that was all it was anymore.
Yeah.
And I liked that this movie was it was a return to form,
Yeah. In some
and
ways.
it brought back like the visual style of the
Yeah.
old movies for the trap scenes and things like that, which I thought was really cool. But mostly it's a return to form in the tension aspect,
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
there are a lot of moments in this movie where you're watching someone do a trap and you're like, dude, just do it, just do it, just do it, because you
Yeah.
don't want to know
Right.
what's going to happen at the end.
Yeah. See.
And that was my favorite part of the first two movies. Like the second one opens with the guy and he has to cut his eyeball out.
Yeah. That fucking. Yeah.
And
That's
you
fucked
sit
up.
there for the whole like first 2 minutes of that movie going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my
Yeah.
God. And that's how this movie felt.
Yeah.
And I liked
Exactly.
that.
There are some traps, like one or two, where it did feel like, okay, you got an easy out. There's no way you should fail this. But it's still like there's such great like tension and design behind the traps that sometimes you're not really thinking about that at the moment because they're just so well made. I think that
Yeah.
both of us can agree that we did have a bit of a weird vibe with this movie because, as the trailers have suggested, the main character of the movie really is John Jigsaw.
Yeah.
And without giving too much away, it's just is a very strange feeling to where the movie's trying to make you sympathize with Jigsaw, but also showing you how fucked up, and the movie acknowledging how fucked up he is. It was a weird balance that I don't know paid off that well. Like, it wasn't atrociously bad to where, like, it was distracting, but there are a couple of moments in the movie where they want you to feel bad for John, and it's a weird imbalance of tone to me.
Yeah, I had the same problem, and that's why, like I had said when we finished watching the movie, I didn't know how to feel about this movie
Yeah,
because I definitely didn't dislike it,
right.
but it has this really weird tone shift every once in a while where it just becomes this really bright, sunny life drama movie.
Yeah.
And then like 5 minutes later, like somebody's getting cut up and you're like it's just like wild. And
Yeah,
the juxtaposition between John being this sad old sick man who's running out of time and John being the most sadistic, fucked up version of the Punisher ever.
right.
Is like it just like doesn't line up. Like the tone is just so weird. And also it leaves you with a lot of questions about the rest of the franchise because
Right.
occasionally there are victims in the other movies that you're like, I don't really know if I agree that these people belong in here.
Yeah, it's
And
always been a thing where like John has always been like a sadistic fucked up killer, and you're always never really sure how to feel about him. But this movie tries to like tip the scale in a more like positive way, and it doesn't feel right
yeah, it's
in some cases.
basically as the trailers show, John is essentially the hero of the story.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird to see it in that light because when it's painted that way, I don't feel bad for the victims in the game anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I feel bad for like the physical impending doom of the people,
Right, but you don't want
but I
any of
don't
them to come out of this, really. Like,
exactly. Yeah, I don't want any of them to survive because they're horrible,
because they're
horrible people.
fucked up
And
people,
so it's
and
like
yeah,
you're rooting for them to lose, which is really weird because none of the other movies are that way. There's usually like one person in the game that's like a dickhead,
yeah,
and then when they die, you're like, yeah. But
right.
In
And
this case, almost every single person in the game was a dickhead, which is
yeah,
it really threw me off because now I'm like, this is a whole tone flip for the entire franchise. Now John is essentially the Punisher. So now when I rewatch the other movies, like it's
yeah,
it
it's
kind of
just like,
changes my opinion towards the way he treats some of the people.
yeah, 'cause like in the first movie, it really is like, man, these people did some screwed up things, but like, do they really deserve this? And
Yeah.
it's always been very clear that Jigsaw, while he has his like moral code, is still the fucking bad guy. But here it tips that and like flips it on his head, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Even though I don't hate it, it's weird. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
You know what I think this movie I think that they were trying to find a creative in canon way to allow the audience to root for the game
Yeah,
because the biggest thing about these movies after the first two was the gore. People
true.
went to see the kills, the traps, the like how crazy is it going to get this time.
Right,
And I think this movie it brought it back to like a Saw 1 and 2 kind of trap setting, but the game itself was done in a way that you could cheer for John. You were like enjoying the carnage.
right, yeah.
And I think that that was probably their goal was to try to find a way to make Saw still feel like Saw but also have that fun of the sequels where you're just going to see who's going to die.
Yeah, and Jigsaw, the movie, kind of introduced this problem a little bit. I guess we can talk about Jigsaw because that movie's been out for years. One of the big reveals at the end of that movie was that the main character that you're following was John's neighbor who had suffocated her baby and then blamed it on her husband. And it's like, that is one of those times where it's just like, oh, I don't want you to live. You suck. Like, you're a terrible person. And that's another reason why I didn't love that movie, is because you don't want to root for that character, which is the main character of that part of the movie. So this takes it up a notch where it's just like, I don't root for really. There is one character where you do kind of feel bad for, and that they make a like another character in the movie kind of makes a connection with, and that character you do kind of feel a little bit bad for them, but it's not enough to be like, to really change anything, you know. It's just all of the fucking characters in the traps really suck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think that's my biggest issue with the movie is that because they make John the hero of this film and you're following his story as the main character, they do their best to make you hate the survivors.
Yeah,
And so then once you're in the game, you don't care if they make it out or not.
yeah.
You're
You
just
don't want
interested in
some
seeing
of
what's
them
going to
to.
happen to them, but you don't care if they escape because you're
Yeah,
like they're bad people. So I don't know. I think that kind of ruined some of the suspense for me at certain moments because I was like, this person's a piece of shit, and I couldn't care less that they're suffering right now.
that is fair. Yeah,
And that's probably my biggest complaint with the tone shift is like they did it in a way that you could root for the carnage, but in doing that, it makes the carnage less scary
that's true.
because
Yeah,
now you're like, ha.
because you're not rooting for any of the characters. But I have heard that they're maybe thinking of doing more sequels, and I don't know if they're gonna use this as a jumping off point for more stories set before John dies. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see where they go. Overall, very positive experience with the movie. I really enjoyed it, and it's definitely one of the better installments of the Saw franchise for sure.
Yeah, I think they leave it open enough that you could do another one.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't know. I'm curious, will this movie get the kind of reception that would warrant another one? That's what I'm curious on
that
because
is. I mean, so far it
the Saw
has
movies
been
tend
the
to make a lot of money.
the critics have been very positive towards this movie so far. So we'll see when the audience scores come out, and maybe after the weekend, we'll see more about what everyone thinks about it. But I don't know. I think that it's gonna be over. Uh, excuse me. It's gonna be overall a positive experience for most people. I don't think it's gonna get, especially after the last Spiral. I know you never saw Spiral yet. I did see Spiral, and yeah, a lot of people hated that movie. I'm kind of mid on that movie, but I think this is enough of a return to form that people are gonna appreciate it.
Yeah, I think overall the scores will be positive. I'm curious to see what people's reaction to it will be because like us, we came out of it with like a mixed feeling on it.
Uh-huh.
And I wonder if the word of mouth of people being like, I don't know, like if that's a general public thing. Sometimes the general public's completely different than we are.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So, I
We'll
mean,
just
it,
gonna
it
have
it
to
just
see.
depends on how it goes. But if a lot of people feel the way that we feel, it will be interesting to see how much money this movie really makes because if
Yeah.
that word of mouth spreads that it's kind of like it's good, but it's not perfect and
Yeah.
if that goes around, then maybe less people will be inclined to spend their money.
Right.
Um, Maybe they'll wait for it to go on streaming or something, but
I mean, we'll see.
I hope it does
Yeah.
well because it really is like the best Saw movie in a long time.
Yeah, if they plan on
Um,
making more, I hope they bring this team back for sure.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so I was thinking, I don't know if you want to, but I was thinking maybe doing a spoiler review after letting it sit for a while. Don't have to do it immediately, but yeah, like we can let it sit for a few days, maybe do a spoiler review where we can get more in depth and maybe actually work out what we want to score the movie because we're both kind of unsure about where to put this.
Yeah. Yeah, in the meantime, I'll probably watch Jigsaw again.
Yeah, for sure. We
And
can talk
then,
about that more in a full video.
you know what would be kind of fun? Maybe we should do a watch party over the next week or two and rewatch all the movies.
Ooh, now that's an
Because
idea.
I would be curious to see where we would rank these if all of the movies were fresh for us.
That's a good
Like
question. I
maybe
mean,
we
that's a
could do a
lot of
Saw
movies to go
ranking
through.
for all 10
Yeah,
movies.
I definitely want to rewatch Jigsaw with you, and I do want to watch Spiral with you because I'm very curious about your thoughts on that movie.
Maybe we'll do a Discord watch party or something over the next like
Yeah,
couple weeks or something, and then we'll do a Saw 10 spoiler talk and ranking the entire franchise.
I'm down. Hell yeah.
Maybe we'll get see if we can get Sean involved in that.
Oh shit. Now that's something.
Because
Do you know if
Sean has some wild horror takes.
that is true? He has some crazy ones. I don't know much about his feelings on the Saw franchise, so I really I wanna know about that. Yeah.
I think he generally agrees that the first couple ones are the best ones. But
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's many people that that stray from that opinion.
There's got to be somebody.
Oh, for
There always
fuck's
is,
sake, yeah.
like
Oh
we
yeah.
like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, and everybody hates that movie. So somebody
Dude,
out there likes that
people
shit. Trust me.
people will fucking hang us when they hear that we like the Nightmare on Elm Street. Like people fucking despise that movie. It's insane. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know what to tell you guys. I love it.
Yeah.
It's
Overall, we both really like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
yeah.
Oh well.
Um.
That's a hot take for a different day. I think we were actually
Ooh.
gonna try to do a video about that, right? Like our hot takes.
Yes. Yeah. I want to
Yeah.
do a hot takes episode where we just
Yeah.
list movies we like that everyone hates and shit like that.
Yeah. Let's save our thoughts for that because we got some
But I
interesting
do want to
ones.
throw out one more thing about Saw 10, and that's
Yeah.
the Billy puppet scenes in this movie were great. They were
Yes.
very, very
So
good. Some
good.
of them were funny.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, there's just something about that thing rolling in on the tricycle and people being like, "What the fuck?" is
Yeah.
just like the look on people's faces when they see the puppet in the movie,
The
and it's just so funny.
it's
And
in the
like,
trailer, like him rolling up with on the tricycle with the tray of all the medical tools and shit. But like
yeah.
you don't really get the full effect until you see it in the movie because it's like completely silent and you just hear the tricycle squeaking and it's so funny.
Yeah, and it's just like this shot of Billy squeaking
Yeah,
by with the little table, and then
yeah,
it does close-ups on everybody all creeped out.
yeah,
And I have always loved that. That's one of the best parts of Jigsaw as well, is when the puppet pops out and it has the glowing eyes and it
yeah,
laughs. And then the guy's like, "What the fuck?"
yeah. It's like,
That
well, that's not creepy at all.
yeah, exactly. That's I love that they're constantly doing like meta things with Billy now where everybody's like, "Yo, that shit is fucking creepy."
I fucking agree. That's so funny.
But yeah, that was just like I don't know. I just thought the Billy scenes were really good, and we got Billy popcorn buckets and cups from
Yeah,
our local Regal theater.
we might have to
So
actually show those in the video. I'm gonna try and figure out a way to do that because they're really sick. An actual like full metal popcorn tin with Billy's face on it and shit. Like I had to get once we saw that, I was like, I don't buy a whole lot of the collector stuff, but I had to get that because who
I've
fucking
been on this
knows?
kick lately where I've been buying a lot of them,
Yeah,
but I genuinely thought they weren't gonna have one for this movie.
I was
Like,
surprised at that
and
because they didn't even
if
have
they
one for
did, I
Indiana
thought it would be
Jones.
super simple.
Yeah, yeah, me
But
too.
when we walked in, I saw the cup
Eh,
with Billy on top of
So
it and the Billy bucket, and I was like, "Yo,
yeah,
I need that."
yeah,
Like as
I
soon
was
as I saw it.
surprised it was as cool as it was. The popcorn bucket and the little figurine with the cup, like it's really cool. We'll have to,
Yeah, like I thought it was gonna be like the Mission Impossible ones that basically just has the title on it.
yeah, it's just really
And I was like,
simplistic.
so I wasn't planning on buying those tonight, but
Oh,
when
me
I
neither.
walked in and I saw it, I was like, I need that. Like immediately.
Yeah, I'm glad I
And
had
we were
money
like
because
pressed for time too. We literally got into the theater right when the Lionsgate stuff at the beginning of the movie popped up. So
oh
like
yeah, that's a
I
whole
risked
thing.
it all for
Like
that Billy bucket.
we took we took like we took like an hour to eat because like it just took that long for us to get our food and we were like rushing to the theater. And yeah, the we got all of our shit. You and Tyler went to the restroom and we got there as soon as the Lionsgate logo started and that was like insane timing.
Yeah, we opened the door to the theater and I heard like dramatic music and I ran ahead of you guys to see if it was a trailer or not and I was like, "It's starting."
Yeah, I was like, "Oh shit."
I I guarantee somebody in the theater heard me yell that
Oh yeah.
because I was like at the opening where like the
Yeah.
stairs are and I was like, "It's starting."
It started, guys. Then we fucking walk ourselves up to the top row.
We literally sat down like as like right before the opening scene
Like
started.
the
Like
first shot of the movie, yeah. We had
but yeah,
some
that
good luck timing, but
overall it was a good experience. I
yeah.
was pleasantly surprised by the movie.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that more in another video. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right. So that was our spoiler-free review of Saw X that just came out as of recording this tonight. Um, I think that we got through pretty much everything that I wanted to, except for our last topic here, which I gotta say, it's a big one for me because it was so out of left field. So our next topic is Halloween, the franchise, not the season. um, so the last couple of days have been very interesting because I believe Bloody Disgusting broke the news that Halloween is getting shopped around Hollywood right now. And yeah, it was kind of insane news because, as you know, we just got Halloween Ends last year, not even a year ago. So,
Hmm.
with how that movie ended, I was certain that they would wait at least, I don't know, 5 years to start making more Michael Myers films because it's Halloween Ends. It's the last of the original movie's timeline. So I assumed they would
Is
wait.
it though?
No, I'm not that naive to believe that it was never gonna be the end, or that it was gonna be the end of Michael Myers in general, but I figured they'd
Oh no,
wait
I'm
at least a
saying
little.
like, is it really the ending of the original timeline? Because they've had like
That's
3 Halloween timelines and a remake,
that
and
is the
like at
question.
this point, I genuinely don't believe that it'll ever end until they stick to a new timeline with all new characters.
Yeah,
Because if they come out with just another remake, okay, cool, but they're just doing the Laurie Strode thing again, right?
yeah.
But
I hope they
if
don't
they
do
come
that.
out with a whole new, essentially franchise reboot with Michael,
Hmm.
um, then I think I'd be more excited.
Oh yeah,
If they do
I.
like a Scream type thing where they introduce an all new cast and just move on, I think I would actually be more interested.
Well, we
Um,
will get into that in a second because I'm curious if you heard the update from this news. I know you initially heard the fact that they were shopping out the rights to Halloween, but there's an
yeah,
update.
I heard there's a couple bidders, but I haven't heard anything else.
There was an interesting update. So, the original report from Bloody Disgusting said that Miramax was shopping out the film and television rights to Hollywood for Halloween. That ended up not being true, and Bloody Disgusting updated their article, and now it says this. Bloody Disgusting can exclusively report this week that Malika Akkad's Trancas International Films is actively shopping the rights to the Halloween franchise around Hollywood. For clarity, while Miramax co-owns the film rights, Trancas is the sole owner of all television rights. From what we
Hmm.
understand, there is a massive bidding war going on right now for television rights, with several different parties interested in vying for the chance to bring Michael Myers back to life. We are hearing exclusively that A24 and Miramax are the two parties currently in battle for TV rights, and that A24 is currently leading the charge. Yeah. So
Wow.
technically, Miramax still has the rights for, or at least co-own the rights for the film. But it sounds like Trancas is shopping out the television rights for Halloween, and A24 is at the head of that party. That's really interesting news to me. Because
Yeah, I what TV shows has A24 done?
So I don't know
Because if they're
about
doing television
previously.
rights,
Well, here's the thing. I don't know about previously, but if you probably forgot because it's been so long since they announced it. A24 are the ones behind the new Crystal Lake series that's going to be streaming on Peacock.
no shit.
Yeah,
I forgot
A24.
about that.
Yeah, A24 is making the Crystal Lake series, which they've described as a pre-remakeable. So it's not going to take place in the canon of any of the movies, but it's going to tell the story of the original series. I'm assuming the original like 2 or 3 movies, while also being a prequel and sequel, and it's being made by A24. This
Hmm.
is so interesting to me. Like when I first heard that they were shopping the rights before they updated the article, my first thought was A24 because to me A24 is a perfect studio for Michael Myers and Halloween in general. I think that weird Twilight Zone-y vibe of the original movie is like right down their alley. And I'm so interested in seeing what a A24 Michael Myers looks like.
As long as it doesn't look like Halloween 5.
Well, literally, yeah.
No,
Not that
I agree
fucking
with
weird
you
ass
actually. I
alien
think
Michael.
A24 has a very indie film vibe to
Yeah,
all of their stuff, and I think that that's where Halloween really belongs. You know, John Carpenter made that first movie with like literally just anything he could find,
exactly.
and it's the fact that it still holds up today is incredible. And
Yeah,
I think that the simplicity of the old John Carpenter Halloween movies is what made them great. And while I do really like the 2018 film, um, it's it definitely stepped into a more modern
yeah,
era. Like they
for sure.
kept the tone of Michael himself from the Carpenter era, but
Yeah.
they kind of moved in a more like Scream type tone.
In a way,
And
like
I
it
didn't
had a
dislike it at
retro
all.
feel to it in a way. It was, but yeah, I definitely got the more modern feel too.
But I think it would be incredible if they could find a way to take it back. Maybe do like what they did with like Stranger Things and the It remake and just base it in like the 80s or something, and
Yeah,
you could
that's
give
what
it
I'm
that
saying,
old
man.
school retro feel. And I think that that is something that more studios should be cashing in on. I want to see like the old school like 70s and 80s lighting, and
Well,
like
when
I
we
think
and
A24 would be perfect for that.
when we and pretty much everybody else watched Halloween Kills, we all said that, man, that fucking flashback at the beginning, take that and make that a whole fucking movie.
Exactly.
And that has some really cool potential if they do a retro Halloween setting it back in the 70s or 80s and doing it low budget indie horror movie style. That would be so cool. But this is for television. So I'm kind of curious if their plan is to do the same thing they're doing with Jason, where it's a reboot slash prequel slash sequel storyline where it's like all of the above, or a lot of people have been talking about it and we've been talking about it too, maybe going into the anthology route and not doing Michael Myers.
Hmm. I think here's my opinion on the anthology thing. I think I think that the anthology thing at its core is a decent idea.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that the problem is that because the studios have continued to force so many goddamn sequels
Yeah,
that Halloween is now just permanently synonymous with Michael Myers.
it is
And
true.
I think outside of the very few Season of the Witch fans out there, I think that there would be a big upset if they announced that the Halloween show doesn't have Michael.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
that is kind of I'm all for if A24 wants to do like a interconnected anthology series of some sort, but I don't think doing it with Halloween is a good idea because I think um it will immediately tarnish their reputation with the fans,
Yeah, I
especially with the fact that they're new to like these series based on bigger IP. I think that if they immediately turned around and said, "Yeah, we're not going to have Michael," it would be a big problem.
yeah, I don't think that anyone who is buying the rights to this franchise isn't gonna use Michael. I really like Michael is the face of Halloween, and as much as I think the anthology series would be a cool way to go, I don't think there's much of a chance of them doing that. My idea was maybe do the show as an anthology, but start like have season one be a retelling of the original Halloween. And then once you get into season two, you start doing your like season of the witch, and then season three can be its own original thing, and then keep going with that. That would be, I think, the only way an anthology series would work is if you start it with Michael.
I think that there is you could do an anthology series like that, but I think the problem with the anthology series idea is that it will eventually run into the problem of how do you bring people back?
Hmm,
Because if you do a season that's all Michael, and then people are now invested in all those characters and Michael and all that, and then you go, okay, next season we're doing Season of the Witch,
sure.
then maybe some of those people will come back to watch that one. And then you go, okay, now it's not going to be connected to either of those things.
Uh,
I'm not entirely
yes
sure
and
that the
no,
fan base would stick
because
around
Netflix has
unless
had a lot
it
of
was like
success.
a 11 out of 10 kind of show. Like Black Mirror was one of those shows that's like it's an anthology thing that's like not really connected to anything, but the
Well,
show has been
honestly,
consistently praised.
anthologies have had a lot of success. We got American Horror Story, which is still going right now. Every season is, and a lot of those seasons aren't great, but that's a show that's still going, and every season is different. And
But
you got
American Horror
the
Story
Black
has
Mirror, huh?
American Horror Story has the unique ability of constantly reusing the same cast.
Well, I mean, there's no reason you can't do that too. I'm not saying you can't do that because you also have Netflix's Haunting series. You had Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor. And
True.
Haunting of Hill House was a hit. And actually, not just those, but everything that Mike Flanagan does with Netflix. He always reuses a lot of his actors. And it's pretty much the same, like, anthology thing. So, I don't know. I think if it was made well enough, I think you could definitely pull that off. I don't think that's what they'll do, but
I
I think you
I
could.
think that it's doable, but I think that it is a bigger risk because they're doing it with an established IP that people are far too attached to.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. Like when it's something original and you're just like kind of making it up as you go, then cool. But when you take something like Halloween where everybody has had a resounding rejection to the anthology idea and
That's
then
true.
immediately go back to the anthology idea, I just don't think that the fans would be in for that.
Probably not unless you did something where like you had the anthology for a television series and then while you're still doing like Michael Myers movies at the same time. I think that would be the only way that fans wouldn't care is if you're doing the movies as well. But I don't know.
I
I
think it
don't
would be
think
really cool if A24 can land the film and television rights, which would probably be very difficult, but if they can pull that off, it would be very cool to see the Halloween series be kind of like a prequel to the actual Halloween movies.
Mm,
Whereas they basically can reboot it with the series and introduce all new main characters and a whole new storyline and all this stuff, and then
lead it into a movie.
they can lead it into the movies where now they have this new universe where Michael exists.
That's an idea. I wouldn't hate that. I don't know. See, I don't know if the film rights are actually being shopped around right now because from the update, it seems like it's only the television rights because Miramax still has the rights or still co-owns the rights for the films. So I'm not even sure A24 has a chance of buying the rights to the film.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's currently going on right now, and I'm really interested in seeing how that goes because I think that they're probably going to do an Michael Myers centric story, which right after Halloween Ends just came out, I'm really curious about how they're gonna go about that. I think it has potential to be really cool. But
I think that Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends were pretty divisive among the fan base, and I think
oh yeah.
that if regardless of how they handle it, I think if A24 can deliver something that's true to the spirit of Halloween, that's kind of like a return to form, I think that the fan base would be happy. Even if
Oh,
it's
for
like a
sure, yeah.
complete restart and none of the old characters are in it, I think that people would be far more interested to see that they're doing something that feels like Halloween but is new, you know?
Yeah, if they just do a whole new like pretty much like a reboot of the original movie but do its own thing, maybe put Loomis in there, but other than that, do completely different characters and a completely different story. As long as it's well made, I'd be fucking down for it.
I actually think that there is a way they could do this as like a Stranger Things type
Yeah.
show where you could have a bunch of kids and let live in the same neighborhood
Mhm.
and they could kind of create an ensemble cast instead of just following Lori,
Mm, that's an
and it
idea.
would they would be able to use like all of those kids in each season. Maybe, you have like one of the main characters gets killed off or whatever, and it would kind of keep that like impending doom feeling throughout the series.
That's kind of an interesting idea, like having an ensemble group for the story and like I don't know, kind of have them do like the old campfire scary stories type thing where they talk about the boogeyman and
Mhm.
then Michael comes through town and they're like, "Oh shit." Like it almost. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly, yeah, like that, like then the kids have to band together and find the courage to fight against Michael because maybe people don't believe them or whatever.
that'd be kind of interesting. Yeah. And like maybe the Hopper of the story is like the Dr. Loomis.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I
I
like
think
that
that would
idea.
be kinda cool if they lived in a town where years ago there was this kid who snapped and he killed all these people, and they never caught him and they don't know where he went, and then you have this ensemble cast of kids, like teenagers, and then they're the ones that find Michael
Yeah,
and have to
see,
try to stop him because now he's killing everybody and
that's an idea that I've had for a while where like what if you did a remake of the original Halloween, but instead of Michael getting locked up, he just disappeared as a kid and he no one ever saw him again. And then he comes back like 10 years later. That'd be a cool
that's
way to
what
do
I'm
it.
saying. Place it in the '80s, give it that kind of like like really raunchy kid comedy kind of vibe.
Yeah, but
And
really like
then
eerie, creepy
yeah,
vibes.
it would be kind of like Stranger Things. They mix that like Wes Craven-esque horror
Yeah,
with like teen drama.
I'd be down for
I
that.
think there's a way that they could find that balance and
Oh
they
yeah,
could do something completely new while still keeping the spirit of Michael. Like Michael still doesn't talk. He still wears the white mask. He still looks similar,
right.
but you could
Change
do
it up a
the
bit.
Michael killing his way through Haddonfield with new characters in an interesting new way.
Right. Man, I'd be down for that for
I
sure.
think an A24 series has basically unlimited potential,
Honestly, yeah.
but I think like we said, like it really just depends on the direction that they go because if they announce this as an anthology series, I think it will be an immediate upset.
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but I don't believe that that's what they're doing. I don't think they'll go in that direction at all.
I don't think so either because we've seen how fans react to that
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
it's to the point now like the new movies they referenced like Silver Shamrocks and stuff like that.
Which
And
yeah,
like,
which is
the
cool.
old school Halloween fans would be like, "Oh, that's a cool Easter egg." But if they had at the end of Halloween Ends been like Michael was just being controlled by the mask,
That would be yeah,
like
that would be
people would have
insane.
rioted in the street.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it would have been a big fucking problem. So I think that it's that anthology idea, it was tested out and all the fans and the studio hated it.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if that's a viable option now.
Yeah. I agree. I don't believe that they're gonna try that. I mean, yeah. Uh, More than likely they're gonna use Michael, I think, because like you said, he's the face of the franchise, and that's what brings in the viewers. So yeah, I mean, as soon as we get more news about that, I definitely want to do an update because insane. It's gonna be fucking insane if A24 gets their hands on Michael Myers.
What do you think where do you think Michael's gonna go in terms of the movies? Like how long do you think it'll be before we get another movie?
That's a good question because, like I said, I kind of assumed we wouldn't see Michael for at least another 5 years because the movie is called Halloween Ends, and I don't. You made a big point in saying this is the end. So I don't think you bring Michael back to the big screen for a little while. And I'm okay with that because we got three Michael Myers centric movies, and I'm cool with that. Well, two. But yeah, I don't think that they're gonna touch Michael for a little while and then maybe see what happens with the series until, you know, they can make another Halloween movie.
Yeah, I am curious to see when we'll see Michael again
Yeah.
on the big screen because I on one hand I think like yeah, like you said they should probably wait a while because they made such a big deal about Halloween's ends being the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, However, at the same time, I fully expect one of these studios to be after those rights so that they can remake the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Because it's just Hollywood nature at this point that like anything they can get their hands on, they'll remake it if it's a big enough IP.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's only so many years that Halloween will sit like that. And I think that I think personally, like 5, 6 years from now, we're gonna get a Halloween remake.
You're probably not wrong. And I'm okay with it we as long as we don't fuck it up. Because I've said ad nauseum, I'm not a big Rob Zombie Halloween fan, so I I'm fine with them changing up some stuff as long as you keep to the original intent of the character. I
Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
also on the fence about it just because like I don't want them to keep making sequel after sequel after sequel and it just getting to the same shitty movies that it did before. As much as people hated Halloween Ends, I liked the movie overall, and I'd be content if that's where Michael was left off for a long time. But I'm not naive enough to believe that that's actually going to happen.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that that's gonna happen, buddy.
Yeah, especially
I
in this
think
horror renaissance
there's
that we're having
already
right now.
some dude with ideas right now
Oh
that's
yeah,
trying to get that shit. I'm
it's
telling you
me.
right now.
It's
There's
me. I'm remaking Halloween.
You heard it here, folks.
Hell yeah.
The three people who listen to this, you heard it here.
Breaking news.
Years from now, when this is more popular, somebody's gonna find that clip and be like, "Yo, where's the remake?
Yeah, right? Where is it?
Y'all took
Fund
too
it for
long."
me.
Yeah, we'll start a GoFundMe when we're famous, and
Right?
then we'll make a Halloween fan film.
Honestly, fuck yeah. Let's do it.
But
All
yeah,
right.
I think that we're gonna get a remake of Halloween in the next couple years, and I also think that we're gonna get some Nightmare on Elm Street news in the next couple years
I
because
really hope
I
so.
I don't think that the studios will let either of these IP lie around much longer. And I think if Miramax gets a big enough offer, they will sell that shit.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. I mean, it's hard to say just because I'm sure Miramax wants to keep it, but if they do get a big enough offer, I would assume they would sell it. And
What they'll probably do is like a licensing type thing where they'll give the rights to a studio for a certain amount of movies,
well,
kind of like
yeah,
what
that's what they
they
did
do
with.
with Spider-Man for Marvel Studios.
Sure,
I
and
think
that's what
that's
they also did for the Blumhouse trilogy.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's what they'll do. I think they'll work out some kind of deal with whoever wants it, and they're like, "You give us enough money, and we'll let you make this many movies."
yeah.
But I would be curious to see if Miramax actually produced another Halloween movie.
I mean, they produced the other Blumhouse trilogy. I think they produce all of the Halloween movies. I don't.
Well, I mean, like without another studio,
Oh, you mean just by themselves?
like just
That's
back to
yeah.
basics, make a Miramax Halloween movie.
That would be interesting if they just
Because
did it
imagine if they just turned
themselves.
around and was like, "Here's the sequel to Curse of Michael Myers."
Oh my God, no. I don't need that in my life.
Everybody would be like,
No, God, please, no. No.
Halloween Resurrection Part 2.
Oh
Like
fuck no. I might not if Buster Rhymes is in the movie, I might not even go to that. As much as
No,
I
it's
love
gonna be
Michael.
LL Cool J this time.
Fuck no.
No, call it a comeback. Oh man.
Slim Shady walks
I
in. Will the real Michael Myers please stand up? Please stand up.
oh no.
Yep.
They're just gonna get a group of rappers to be the survivors.
That would be horrible. Uh,
Imagine Drake in a Halloween movie.
oh Jesus fucking Christ. Yo, send Chris Brown on his ass. There we go.
Yeah, Chris Brown got hands. We could send him. Send Chris Brown to fight Michael.
Shit.
Then if he loses the fight, like people will cheer, but like if he wins, people will cheer, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Exactly. Oh shit. All right. I think that is all that I got today, unless you have something else that we want to discuss. That's everything that I had down.
Um, I don't think I have anything else.
Nothing else? All right.
Not off the top of my head.
Well, it's our first off the docks in months.
Check
This
out
will
our
be,
gaming channels.
yep, our gaming channels. Um, this is what, like, only the second episode on the new channel. So,
Yeah,
yeah, we gotta do more of these. We gotta get on that shit and try to do more sit downs because this is a lot of fun and it's pretty easy to edit and upload. So, I'm hoping we can get to do more of these in the future.
eventually at some point, I would like to get to a point where we could do 1 or 2 episodes a week.
Yeah, for sure. Like proper podcasts, like weekly episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll see when that happens. For now, I guess we're done.
All right. We will
All
see you
right.
guys later.
See ya. Bye bye.